So let's look at the timeline. This is pulled out of my calendar of the type of meetings and when they occur throughout the year. You probably got something similar from the CDC, and you most likely remember what it was like for you. But I thought it might be helpful to kind of start with an overview uh, of the year. First item we have is actually the group introduction meeting. And this is when you meet your coaches. Great opportunity to have individual introduction, verbalize your expectation and what's important for you as a coach. So you might want to take a bit of time to kind of think about that. Uh, I thought it's a great opportunity to exchange contacts, not only between me and my coaches, but among the coaches to create somewhat of a support group throughout the year and emphasize the communication expectations, which I think is critical of what I think is the way I would like to communicate with my coaches and hear what their expectations of communicating with me. Um, Let them know that one-on-one meetings start immediately and should be scheduled as soon as possible. You pretty much can't move anywhere before the initial one-on-ones. So it's a deeper introduction on the one-on-one, more deep expectation settings. Um, this can include an initial resume review, an initial pitch review, those stories, 30-second, 1 minute, 2 minute. They're going to be in poor shape most likely. That's perfectly fine. But it's important, especially for certain coaches, to push them to get over that initial hurdle and start presenting and start doing as soon as possible. So start pitching, start telling the story, start looking at the resume, because procrastination can kick in as early as this. And remember, darting can be quite overwhelming at the beginning. Uh, but the most important part of the initial one-on-ones is the strategy discussion. What industry are the coaches interested in? Geographic area, what's important to them? And then in light of that expectation, this is a great opportunity to set that very candid conversation about likelihood, and less about whether it's attainable or not, more about if that's the goal, what will be required. Is it an easy goal to get? Most likely not. If it's a stretch goal, then what should be expected in the next few months. After that, it's follow-up meetings. This is mostly about as needed. So if somebody had a resume that you can do virtually, where they send you, write a couple of comments and you send back, that's great. But sometimes you need to review the stories again and maybe have another look at the resume with them. So the next few weeks are really about that. And at the end of September, beginning of October, you kind of start helping with the clubs, with the CDC Resumania and the clubs Resumanias. October and November, this is where stress management starts. Stress management is all the meetings in first coffee where a coachee might approach you and say, I have no idea what I'm doing. This is where it kind of starts kicking in, and if I had a bit more sophisticated graphic, it will kind of become redder and more dark as we go toward the interview season. Early November, you start with cover letters again. This can be a one-on-one. This can be virtual easily. For consulting, this is where you start case prepping. An important note about that, you are likely to be the ones to give them behavioral this early on. So getting your coaches used to the idea of doing a behavioral is very valuable this early on. So just a point to consider. So December, this is pretty much the break, and then we have the last week of December and first week of January as final interview preps. Kick in on those behavioral, longer sessions, more complicated cases if you're doing consulting. This is where interviews occur. So maybe this box should be actually stretched to the right because some interviews are a bit later. Stress management is definitely a big part at this point, and after that it's a bit more sporadic and depends on the coachee. But what one you will likely have is a celebration meeting, which is the second time you're likely to meet your entire group of coaches since the first one. So this is what I saw as a timeline, and in the next video we're going to start talking about how to continually communicate with your coaches throughout this time.